When the price of XRP was in a bearish pattern for a long time, we got a plethora of heavily positive news. Now that we are breaking out of the year-long bearish channel, we are actually getting some good news as continuously. Now, we are continuously receiving the same bullish news of adoption, and the big picture is becoming much more clearer here. Even though there will be bad players in every industry, look how well positioned we are, how we are being highlighted in most of the meeting related to digital assets. This is actually a video from Real XRP Boy. I would like to play.
I do want to differentiate that not all, like Mr. Allaire said, not all cryptocurrencies want to establish new alternative currencies, but certainly the majority of the market, which is Bitcoin, does. And we do have laws against this. And I want to be clear that we created these laws because we had problems.
Yes, not all assets are trying to evade the rules and regulations. And who are the players being legitimized here? If you actually listen to some of this video, you will understand that.
You and I, we've heard of Bitcoin, we've heard of Ethereum. You familiar with XRP and the efforts of Ripple?
With the distributed ledger technology for their payments?
Yep.
Yes.
So as Brad Garlinghouse stated, utility will bring in the next phase of adoption for digital assets, where the majority of existing coins will fall. Are you in the right coin? Because what's happening now may actually take some of your invested money out if these coins are actually falling down. Because being in the right coin at the right time, at the most critical time, is so important. Because when you're aiming for profits, you actually have to be positioned well. If you see value in the video, please do hit the like, subscribe, and the bell notification icon to get notified about the future videos. Welcome to the Scientific Investor channel, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Players within the emerging industry is now shaking hands and collaborating with each other. Now remember, these partnerships are for moving value from one form to another. So at that perspective, what you should be eyeing is, like, when this is happening, we can also see that the XRP ledger and XRP are fast becoming the norm for interledger value movement in this industry. When you see the XRP categories here, you can actually see the first three are the shops, markets, then internet service and crypto services. And if you actually look at the XRP payment gateways here, you can actually see that the coin payments have the majority, then the coin gate. And these are actually covering majority of the payments through these corridors. And if you actually look at this, these are all exchanges, right? Remember, this value movement is happening from fiat to XRP. And then if they want to convert that back into fiat, it's going back. So that's from a regulated financial institution to another regulated financial service provider. So here, Cryptopolis is actually right. The velocity of value movement through XRP ledger makes it the most suitable financial instrument in the current geopolitical scenario. And when we are actually reading through that, you can actually clearly get the idea about central banks being involved in the real-time payments. Why? Because of the velocity of XRP ledger. Now, Fed is not only providing money now for US economy, but it's also acting like the world central bank. It's supporting all the central banks across, which, you know, they have a fair relationship with. So for them to move huge chunks of value instantly is a blessing now. And guess who can enable that? So along with all these positive information which is flooding in the market, a bounce out of this bearish channel will make the buyers get into the train before it blasts off. Once we actually come out of this trading pattern, then the overhead resistance changes from this particular area, that is around 0.19 to 0.205, then shifted up against 0.27, 0.285 area. Now why am I actually highlighting that area? Because you actually get a couple of resistance there. If you actually is looking in a Like if you're looking at a horizontal level, you actually get the resistance like this, where it is previous resistance, which is turned into a previous support, which is now turned into a resistance. Now at the same time, if you're looking at the trend line support, you can actually see something like this. So when we actually moving towards that, it clearly becomes a resistance there. So that area again ties up around 0.27, 0.28 in that area. Now once we actually break above that, next major resistance area becomes this one. So for clarity, I'll just take this one out. Say this line was acting as a support previously. Now we went below that. We tried it a couple of times. Now if we are breaking this, the major resistance area after that 0.27, 0.28 will be coming around 0.37, 0.38. But if we manage to get above that resistance, technically we will be clear, because the next one here is 0.5, which doesn't have much huge resistance there. And from there, if you see the long-term trend, we don't have much of a resistance. Looking at the same break on a shorter time frame chart, say this is a 4-hour chart, we can see that we actually managed to go above this. Now we are kind of bouncing above that. And yesterday when I saw this particular pattern here, say this movement here, I thought it's something similar to that of previous blast off. Just before that 27 blast off, we got something like this. Now yes, it was in a different time scale, but the pattern looked so similar. So actually I had tried to highlight this to some of my, I put that in the community tab. I don't know how many of you actually viewed that, but yeah, each of you will have a different opinion based on the charts. Now, financial analysts across the board are now showing that the XRP fractal points out for a new rally. Now they're actually pointing out this pattern. Say this one is actually highlighted by B chain, and it's actually showing the previous cycle and the current happenings, which we highlighted in yesterday's video. If you remember, we were actually going through the clear points of support, resistance, trendline support, horizontal support, and also it's there in the yesterday's video. That's 27th. Now at the same time, we are actually getting a couple of other news articles in which they are actually showing that we are moving above the current level, which is key resistance level. And once we are moving above that, it points that we can actually go high and the dips can be limited. So many were actually asking me, can I actually wait for more downside to buy in, buy out? Now that's up to your personal decision whether you have to buy more at this price level, or should you be waiting for a dip, because it can be like that. Say for example, you're waiting for a dip and it doesn't actually come through. So personally, what I am doing is now I actually kept some dry powder to shoot out if the price drops. But looking at the current change in the trend in a shorter time frame charts, what I'm doing is I'm taking out 30 to 50% of that dry powder and I'm putting in slowly in the current price range. So even if it drops back below, then I still have some dry powder left to buy in. Now yes, everyone will have a different opinion based on the charts, but the existing support resistance level is what matters, right? If we are actually going through a trading range which actually gives us a long connected support and resistance area, then I think that's valid. Now what do you actually think about this pattern? You can actually let me know what you actually think. In a short, this is a shorter time frame chart, say 2-hour chart, and I'm looking at a bounce towards 0.2. Now the bounce towards 0.2 doesn't actually sound much, because that bounce is actually in a shorter time frame chart, and if you are actually pointing out or taking the trend line here, it is kind of staying valid there. Now yes, it's not actually going parabolic, but if you actually consider here, we are kind of leveling a bit out. We were moving like this, then we shifted like this. So even if we are going to move a bit here, we can actually move above 0.22 in my opinion. You guys can actually let me know what do you actually think based on these charts. If you are looking at on a shorter time frame chart or a long time frame chart, using the indicators, you can actually point out what you actually are watching here. If you see value in the video, please do hit the like, subscribe, and the bell notification icon to get notified about the future videos. Help the channel grow, reach out to more of our community members.